Keeping with this theme, maintaining balance in difficult times, different facets of that. Today is focused on the ability to be able to enjoy moments or be present in moments here and there throughout the day and throughout the week, regardless of whatever else is going on. One of the inspirations for this is seeing, and probably y'all have seen too, some video of young kids in a worn, torn place, and they just like get some stuff and wrap it up in tape and stuff and make a soccer ball, and they go around playing soccer and having a great time. There was a report on the Ukraine, this was some time ago, asking people from the Ukraine, how do they maintain? And they said, well, we get up and we go to work and we go get breakfast at the local cafe. It's like they go on as if nothing is happening. And then when something happens, obviously they have to deal with it. But I find that is an extremely useful way. It's sort of like letting our whole nervous system rest and balance in the midst of difficulty, and that's very, very helpful. And in doing that, one of the things we run into straight away, is we get caught up in a resentment, perhaps, for the situation, so we have to let that go. And it's not so much forgiveness per se, but ability to just let it be what it is. One of the things that we talked about with forgiveness is when something happens to us, something negative happens to us, it's really basically an injury. Suffer from it, we got painful experience from it. But ultimately, when we go through the process of forgiveness and learning from the experience and absorbing the experience, it simply becomes a fact. And we can talk about that as an example of how we handle the particular situation to others, so we can be able to pass on our own experience and wisdom in dealing with something like that to other people. But in doing that, we have to let go of all the blame and the shame and victimization and everything just for those few moments. The kids playing soccer, for the moments that they're playing soccer, they're not being bombed. They're just playing soccer. And kids tend to have a better ability than most adults at staying in the moment and just being in the moment. It's something that we really need to do also. That's one of the great values of mindfulness meditation, is we get to drop out of everything that's going on and just let our nervous system rest. So we can just be present. I was talking to a friend recently about politics. He's not very right-wing, but he's sort of like, when we talk, I don't really try to have an opinion with him, because he goes off on these rants and stuff. He's a long-time friend, really good friend. When it comes down to it, he says, well, it's all nuts. I don't care. Everybody's lying. So why should I even have an opinion about this? And I don't entirely agree with him. I think some people lie a lot more than other people. But, he's just like, what are you going to do? You got to take care of yourself and your family and make sure that you're prepared, and who knows what's going to happen, and prepare best you can for whatever's going to happen, and that's about it. And so one thing we were talking about was that as things go along and things develop, the general anxiety level keeps going up, because there's more and more infringements on rights and bizarre actions on the part of people who are in power, and Netanyahu is still pretty much unchained, and there really isn't anything we can do about that. Now, one of the first things that I ran into personally with all this going on was a sense of personal vulnerability. how, what if, and then fear arose as to in terms of what's going to happen and what might happen and what very well could happen. I found that first and this changed during the election, because I realized there's nothing I can do. I mean, it's like sitting here and knowing that there's a tsunami on the way, and I'm headed toward the nearest mountain, but other than that, there's nothing I can really do. But the really important thing is to stay centered, and because if we don't, it limits our ability to help other people, which to me is the task of the day, so that we continue to be present for and help others along the way. And so if we're all very tied up with and worried about our own safety and well-being, then we really can't help other people very much. And that's why I love singing and dancing. Some time ago I sent out a link to Xavier Diaz. He's Catalonian, and he had this group of dancers also, just absolutely joyous music. And I think that is really essential. And if you all want that link again, I can send it in the next email, because it's important to remember that who knows what's going to happen, who knows what's going to be left or what's going to be left or how, but everything's looking pretty dire. One of the things that's suggested, whether somebody's a writer or they're a speaker, is like, know your audience. Who are you talking to? Well, I'm very clear. I'm not talking to the laggards and the late adopters. I mean, they don't want to have any interest in what I'm saying whatsoever, and would just love to to fill the chat with all kinds of terrible things. So I'm glad I have an eject button here in case somebody wanders in. But but the people that are really communicating with and want to communicate with, like you all, are the people who are the innovators and the early adopters. People saying, no, none of this is right. So we need to begin right now to find solutions about how to deal with things should everything go the way we think it's going to go. And part of that is not worrying about personal safety per se. I mean, certainly taking care of ourselves and doing whatever we can to protect ourselves and our families and provide for them. Like there's a friend of mine in Mexico, lives in Mexico City, and he and his wife built a house way out in the country in a very, very beautiful spot, and surrounded by farms and clean water and all that. And he and his wife intuitively knew that being in cities is not a good place to be for them. Because it was less than a year ago that Mexico City ran out of water, right? And there really isn't any problems with infrastructure in general. That's just the way it goes. And a lot of people are doing that, and so it behooves us to connect with others, and that's what the task, I believe, is of the day, is to connect with other people of like mind and develop community, even though it may be distributed globally, which is one of the reasons I love this and the circles of practice, is people from all over the world. And that really still is a community. To connect with like-minded people is really the most important thing. And so how do we do that versus worrying about ourselves? It's hard to balance self-care with connecting with others. One of the practices that we're going to do today is an adapted compassion exercise. Compassion for oneself and compassion for another. Compassion for people we don't know who are having problems all over the world. This week we're going to be doing Tonglen, which is taking it even a step further. And also working a little bit with gratitude, because the gratitude has a way, if we're having difficulty feeling compassion or doing an exercise like this, gratitude can begin to open the door to those feelings, and to a feeling of being present in the moment, like just sitting somewhere and enjoying the breeze or enjoying the songs of the birds, and whatever it is. No matter what happens on this planet, there's always beauty, and there's always regeneration, there's always life here, even though it may be greatly altered from what we know right now. I'm suggesting it really as a daily practice, and to be aware of little moments of joy or connection. You know, I said something, I was checking out of the grocery store yesterday, and I forgot what it was I said. I made some kind of comment, and there was just this spark of recognition and connection with the cashier. It was just wonderful. It lasted about half a second, but it was really, really wonderful. And that makes both of our days better. I mean, I was richer for the experience, and he was too. And so when we do that, we can transcend whatever the difficulties are, because ultimately, you know, we're not a permanent fixture on the planet ourselves individually. You know, we have a shelf life, and we just don't know when. We are born into mortality, and so we do what we can to make things good and do good works here and connect with others and create life and connection and can make contributions to the general well-being. We have just a limited amount of time here. One of the things that I find in these moments where that kind of dropping out of the time flow, so to speak, is really important, is that the beauty of the earth is everywhere. The beauty of people is everywhere, not necessarily in every person, but it's all right there. And when we tune into that, it makes our burden a lot lighter. And that's really the important part, because in order to make good decisions, we need a pretty calm central nervous system. When we're all wound up with fear and projections and worries, it's harder for us to come up with good solutions, to know what to do and how to handle situations. So forgiveness is one, appreciating beauty is another, being able to just be present is another, without having to do anything, just being and sitting is a really valuable. Some people would consider sitting and doing nothing, but sitting and being present really, I believe, makes a significant contribution to life in general, collective life. I mean, sometimes when I do that, there's a lake nearby, and sometimes I go and sit by the lake, and I'm just sitting there, and sometimes people will say something. They'll say hi, or it looks like you're meditating. I say, yep, and you know, it's really nice. Just sort of evokes connection with people sometimes. So that's the theme for today, and the task really is, how can we be of best service to ourselves, which turns immediately into how can we be of service to others as well in the process, whether it's kids or family or beyond that or what have you. So that we can maintain a balanced inner life, so that if things happen, whatever they are, we can be prepared to adjust accordingly and do what we can to learn from it and to help other people in the process. So that's what we're going to start with. So finding a comfortable position, place to sit. First, we'll start off with a mindfulness meditation, and we'll begin. And just allowing ourselves to settle down and settling in. And just like taking the world off like an overcoat and just putting it aside. And perhaps noticing the points of contact with the chair or the floor or wherever we're sitting. And settling into the fact that we're just sitting. Noticing the stillness of the body. Noticing how the body feels being just still. Just allowing ourselves to tune in and drop out into our own well-being. And allowing ourselves to settle in as best we can into this place called the present moment. And as we become more aware of this present moment, it seems to expand. And if a thought arises or emotions arise, simply recognizing that and letting them go, and coming back to just where we're sitting. Allowing ourselves just to be for a little while. And if sorrows arise or anger arises, that's okay, that's part of the deal. And seeing if you can let them go for just a few moments. And even if confusion arises, simply recognizing it as confusion and letting it go. And perhaps noticing when we do that, whether it's just a moment or two or a split second, when we do let go of something, there's a little bump of joy. At first it may seem just like it's relief, but it's joy as well. So we know that we're in a time of great transition. There's been times of great transition on this planet for a long time. So we're very fortunate to be here now, even though it is not easy. And that somehow we can be part of this transition, not just being tossed about by it or subject to it. Perhaps we can be of service to ourselves and others in the process. Worrying less about what we can't do and turning our attention to what we can do, no matter how small. This way, we maintain our humanity and our tenderness. And through the power of compassion, can bring this to others as well. So in this present moment awareness, allowing compassion to arrive and flood in. And noticing if we have any pangs of conscience or anything sort of hanging on that wants our attention. And if there is any of that or fears, allowing compassion to envelop them. The same way a mother would take a child into her arms. And holding ourselves for a few moments, for a while, in this compassion. Even perhaps acknowledging that life has not been all that easy at times up to now, but still there is gratitude and a sense of present moment awareness and compassion for ourselves. Perhaps feeling that one is being filled up with compassion, whether it be light or whatever it may be, a feeling, warmth, sound, filling up with this compassion, which brings with it not only the feeling of receiving compassion, but also silently committing to deal with whatever it comes up, whatever we need to in order to maintain this state of awareness of the present moment. And compassion is a way to transcend the difficulties and sorrows of life and work through them rather than be dominated by them. So this moment that we're in is a place that's always available to us, no matter what. Knowing this is where our humanity is, and the part of ourselves that is as connected to nature as the redwoods or the wild animals, the flowers. Resting in this awareness, it seems to have a power of its own that nurtures and protects. And allowing ourselves to be filled up by this completely. Every nook and cranny of our body and mind, no matter how tiny the little spaces are. As fully as possible to the absolute brim. And bringing to mind someone we care about who may be having a hard time. Or perhaps someone we don't know personally, but that we're aware of is having difficulty. Allowing their presence to arise in the mind. Getting a sense of their troubles. And this may be someone you don't know or someone you do know. It's about shining the light of our compassion and our present moment awareness on them and sending it to them. And just seeing, just watching what happens. As we send this wonderful energy, this present moment awareness, this place of joy and forgiveness and equanimity, just watch what happens. And watching what happens when somebody receives the gift of compassion, caring, equanimity, joy. And letting go of everything else. and allowing this connection to flourish. Flourishing to the point that this other being radiates back to you from their fullness as well as you exchange, sending and receiving. In a manner where it seems this is the only reality, the only true reality. And as this reaches its fullness and completion, imagine standing side by side and sending out this energy, this compassion, this light, or whatever it may be, to everyone in general. Not everyone will be able to accept it, but at least they're offered. All over the globe, in every country and every place on the planet. It's sort of like ringing a bell that only some people will hear. And this is our global community. People of like mind and like heart, all over the world. And gaining a sense of this resonance with them, this field of connection. People of good conscience and a warm heart. And realizing that we never meet most of these wonderful beings, but somehow we've touched their lives. As their lives touch ours. Allowing us all to breathe the same air. And share in this space that transcends the mundane. And knowing that this field of connection will remain no matter what happens. And sensing this all coming to its fullness and coming to conclusion soon. And knowing that this is a space we can join, that we're joined to all the time, and we can bring to mind at any time. When we do this, we're in the same rhythm as everyone else to whom we're connected. And perhaps finding a sense of security and belonging here. And allowing this to resonate throughout the body. And soak in, letting the body absorb this experience, this feeling, this rhythm, this light, this connection. Allowing us to realize that we are a part of it all. And bringing this with us as we go about our day when the bell rings again.